Hi, good to see you again. Welcome to Block 2, Developing Geometric Reasoning, Lesson 2. I'll share my screen. So, in your previous lesson, you learned to understand and use your knowledge of sum of angles at a point to answer some interesting math questions. In today's lesson, you're going to learn to understand and use the sum of angles on a straight line to answer some interesting math questions. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with those you think can benefit, and click on the notification bell so that when new videos are released, you will be notified. By doing so, you help us grow our mission to educate a global population of children who may not have access to high quality maths education. But by doing this, you uh, grow the mission to ensure that they have access to a platform like this. Thank you. Assuming you have done that, pause the video and answer these retrieval practice questions in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered these retrieval practice questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. How many degrees are in a full turn? There are 360 degrees. How many degrees are there in a half turn? There are 180 degrees. If you're asked to copy and complete the sentence, angles around a point sum to 360 degrees. To work out the size of the angle marked P, we have to sum these angles, so add them up and subtract our result from 360 degrees, which will give us 52 degrees. Let's do some new learning. Look at this line and tell me what you think is the angle on the straight line. Well, if we use our protractor to help us, we can see using our outside scale or our inside scale, we can see that the angle is 180 degrees. So starting from this line here, we can see that if we measure the angle on this straight line, it is 180 degrees. And you can see that it is half a turn. So a straight line angle measures 180 degrees. What about X and Y? What can we say about X and Y? If we put our crosshairs, the crosshairs of the protractor, on the vertex where both angles meet, we'll see that X is 135 degrees and Y is 45 degrees because you're measuring from 135 to 180. So you've just moved 45 degrees turn. X and Y therefore adds up to 180 degrees. But what about the concept of adjacent angles? Well, here is another fact you have to learn. Adjacent angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. But what are adjacent angles? Adjacent angles are angles that share a common line and a common vertex. The common line is the green line you can see, and the common vertex is the point where the angles meet. So we're going to do a quick exercise. I want you to look at these diagrams and see which of the diagrams show adjacent angles on a straight line. Pause the video and point them out really quick. Well, let's see. We can see that that one has adjacent angles. So adjacent means one thing next to the other. And you can see they share a common line and a common vertex. That is not that is. That is not, because although these angles, if we were to bring them together, they could form 180 degrees when added together, but they do not share a common vertex, neither do they share a common line. But this is, although we have three angles, but we can see these three angles share a common line and a common vertex. It's now time for you to use your knowledge to practice. So pause the video and answer questions 1 and 2 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered questions 1 and 2, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. For question 1, you were asked, two angles A and B are adjacent on a straight line. You were asked to measure angles A and B. Well, you could use a protractor to do that. Next, you were asked, what is the total of the two angles? You can see that the angles sum to 180 degrees. And then you were asked to complete the sentence. Well, adjacent angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. I want you to take note of this statement because we're going to use it a lot. Next, you were asked to tick the diagram that shows adjacent angles on a straight line. And you can see the angles that show adjacent angle on a straight line is just this diagram. Well, let's look again at the straight line. If we say the green and the blue angles on this straight line, what would they add up to? Of course, they would add up to 180 degrees because you can see that they are adjacent angles. So if we know that this angle is 120 degrees, we can find the missing angle by subtracting 120 degrees from 180 degrees, which will give us 60 degrees. So we're going to use this knowledge to answer some questions that you could see in a maths exam or in a maths practice test or in a maths textbook. Here, what is the value of x? Let's put our equation solving skills. So we can form our equation. We know that adjacent angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So we'll write our equation out. X plus 70 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Why? We're usually required when we answer questions like this to write our reason. So the reason is because adjacent angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. Next, we'll solve our equation by eliminating the thing that is preventing us from having x on its own. And of course, we need to subtract 70 from both sides. That gives us x is equal to 110 degrees. It's now time for you to pause and practice what you've learned. Pause the video and answer question 3 in 4 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 3, here are the answers. For question 3, you were asked, work out the unknown angles. Well, it's important that we discuss the answers because I want you to really make use of your equation solving skills. So we know E plus 58 degrees will be equal to 180 degrees. So we need to subtract 58 from both sides, and that gives us our answer. Here we know that G at 141 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. So we subtract 141 from both sides, 141 degrees from both sides. That gives us this result. Here we know that x at 49 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. We subtract 49 degrees from both sides. That gives us our result. Here we have A at 132 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. We subtract 132 degrees from both sides to make A stand on its own. We'll get our result. Here, we know y add 62 degrees, they're adjacent angles on a straight line, which must add up to 180 degrees. So we subtract 62 degrees from both sides, we'll get our result. Here, we know z add 43 degrees, add 37 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. So we subtract 43, subtract 37, that eliminates them, and we subtract them from here as well. So if we subtract 43 and we subtract 37 degrees, we'll get this answer. Pause the video and answer question 4 in 1 minute. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 4, here is the answer. The answer is no. Of course. Why? Remember, he says angle B is 116 degrees because angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Well, he did not complete the statement properly. Not just angles on a straight line. Yes, there are angles on a straight line, but adjacent angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So he is not right. Let's look at another example. So this is the third part of our lesson. If we are asked to work out the value of x, what do we do? Well, first thing we notice is x and 4x are adjacent angles on a straight line. So they're going to add up to be 180 degrees. But we know that x add 4x is 5x. Let's check whether that is actually true. So if we were to take x and we start to project it onto the other part of the 4x, we would see that we would have exactly 4 lots of that to make 4x. So it is actually right. So we can write our equation that 5x is equal to 180 degrees. Remember your equation solving skills. To get rid of the thing that is preventing x from being on its own, we need to divide by 5. And of course, whatever you do to one side, you have to do it to the other side. So if we divide 180 by 5, we'll get 36 degrees. It's now time for you to pause and practice what you've learned. Pause the video and answer question 5 in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 5, here are the answers. Question 5, we're asked, use the information to work out the unknown angles. Angle A is half the size of angle B. Well, we know that the sum of the angles at a point is 360 degrees. So if angle A is half the size of angle B, then it has to be 120 and 240 degrees respectively. Next, you were asked, angle A is 4 times the size of angle B. Well, if angle A is 4 times the size of angle B, we can use some algebraic equations to solve this. I would like to express this algebraically so that you see how things actually work. So if angle A is half the size of angle B, it means we can say this is actually 2A, because this is half of that. So if we were to solve this using algebra, we would say 2A at A is equal to 360 degrees. So we know 3A is equal to 360 degrees. Remember your equation solving skill. We need to divide by 3 to eliminate 3 so that A stands on its own, and we need to divide that side by 3 as well. So A is 120 degrees. So if A is 120 degrees, you can see why B should be 240 degrees because B is twice of A. This one, we can use the same algebra technique to answer this question. We know that angle A is 4 times the size of angle B. So if angle A is 4 times the size of angle B, we can call this 4B. Now, if we do this, we can say, well, 4B add B add 90 degrees, because this is a right angle, will be equal to 360 degrees. We know that 4B add B is 5B plus 90 degrees, which will be equal to 360 degrees. We can subtract 90 from both sides. Remember, we're looking for B, so we'll start to eliminate things that are preventing us from having B being on its own. So we know that 5B will be equal to 270 degrees. Therefore, B will be 270 divided by 5, which will give us 18. 270 divided by 5 should give us 72. Okay, so let's do that. You will see that, yep, that's right. So 5 times 2 is 10, 0 carry 1. 5 times that is 35. 35 plus the 1 will be 36. Just a minute. Let's check 18 times 5. 5 times that is 40. 0 carry 4. 5 times 1 is 5 plus the 4 we carried. So that's 9. So that's 90. So B should be 18. And there are 4 times of that. Yeah. So I think there's a mistake. Just a minute. So let's do a quick bus stop method. So 270 divided by 5. 27 divided by 5 will be 5. 5 times 5 is 25. And then remainder 2. So that should be 54. So B is 54. So B should be 54. And so let's check quick. 54 minus 5. 0 carry 2. That should be 270. Yes, that's right. So again, looking at the question again, angle A is 4 times the size of angle B. Yeah, that's right. So if that's B, that could be 4B. So 5B plus 90. Oh no, that's a mistake. Why did I say 360 degrees? Apologies for that. Let's rub this all off. So apologies, sincere apologies. Shouldn't be 360. That's a mistake. Just a minute. should be 180 degrees. Because I did the other one to be 360 degrees, so I just went off the chart doing something else. But everything, the reasoning stays the same, okay? So we'll use that reasoning to do it properly. And this is interesting. This is what happens in maths. You make these mistakes, and when you're reasoning something, thinking about something else. So we'll have B add 4B, which is equal to, you can see it's a straight line, add 90 degrees, which should be equal to 180 degrees. 5B will be equal plus 90 degrees, sorry, will be equal to 180 degrees, okay? Now, you subtract 90 from both sides. So 5B will be equal to 90 degrees. B will be 90 divided by 5, 90 degrees divided by 5, which will give you 18, all right? And then that is 4 times, yeah, A is 4 times of B. We found B, so you can check it. 18 times 4 is 72. So 4 times 8 is 32. You write 2, you carry 3. 4 times 1 is 4, plus that 3, you carry 7. Okay? All right, pause the video and answer questions 6 and 7 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered questions 6 and 7, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. For question 6, you were asked, write the size of the given angles. Well, by now, you should know how to read angle notation, knowing that the middle letters tell you the position of the angle you're after. So A, B, D. A, B, D. So you can see that the angle ABD is holding is 38 degrees. EBC. EBC. You can see that the angle EBC is holding is 45 degrees. DBE. DBE. You can see that the angle that DBE is holding is 97 degrees. Next, you will ask, is ABC a straight line? Yes. How do you know? If you add them, you would see that the angles add up to 180 degrees. The adjacent angles are adding up to 180 degrees. For question 7, you were asked to work out the value of x. So to work out the value of x, don't forget about your equation solving skills. So x plus 2x, they are adjacent angles. So adjacent angles on a straight line sum to 180 degrees. 3x is equal to 180 degrees. We'd have to divide by 3. Remember your equation solving skills. X will be equal to 60 degrees. Here, remember your equation solving skills. So we form our equation x, add 2x, add 90 degrees will be equal to 180 degrees. 3x, add 90 degrees will be equal to 180 degrees. We have to subtract 90 from both sides. 3x will be equal to 90 degrees. Next, we have to divide both sides by 3. X will be equal to 30 degrees. Pause the video and answer question 8 in 1 minute. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. So here you were asked, AB and CD are straight lines. Write expressions for the sizes of any missing angle and label them on the diagram. And here are the expressions we can write. So looking at the straight line for CD, we can say that to get this angle, we need to add this and add that and subtract it from 180 degrees. That's why you can see it here. And then to get this angle here, this angle will be equal to y. Well, you may be wondering why that is the case. I want you to think about a concept we call vertically opposite angles. So don't worry about that yet. You're going to learn it in subsequent lessons. So y should be equal to this angle here because they are vertically opposite. Now, we see the line AB. To get this angle, we have to subtract. You can see they are adjacent angles. We subtract y from 180 degrees. And that is the expression. And that brings us to the end of our lesson. So in this lesson, you have learned how to use your knowledge that adjacent angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Remember, the statement that angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees is not always right because you can have different types of angles on a straight line. You can have angles on a straight line that do not share a common line and a common vertex. So adjacent angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Until next time, take really good care of yourself and bye-bye.